Hello everyone, we are so glad to have here today our mayoral candidate John Barros with the greatest minds. I'm Chip Greenwich. So glad to be here today. Today we're doing our one-on-ones and we're glad to have you in the beautiful historic Grove Hall.
Yeah man, in Grove Hall you can't do one-on-one. It's 1 on 15, 20. Good to be in Grove Hall with the people. Thanks for doing this.
Thank you so much. And this is our one-on-one and we want to be able to have, we see a lot of these debates and we're hearing you guys get maybe like 1-minute answers, 2-minute answers, but we, with the greatest minds, want to make sure that everyone gets to hear their voice of what about they think about the city of Boston and so forth, and your mayoral candidate. So that's why we're here, and I've known you for years.
Yeah, good to see you,
Partnership.
Yes,
you know what I mean? You know my sister very well.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Been involved with lots of community and civic action stuff as well in the city, so very proud.
Hey, and I spent some time at Morehouse. I feel like we got a little bit of bond there. Come on.
All right, give me a little Morehouse time. Give me a little story.
Come on, a little bit of house.
All right, good.
Went to Morehouse on exchange program. So as a student at Dartmouth College, I wanted to have a black college experience. Right. Because I actually wanted to go to Howard, where my brother graduated from. But Dartmouth gave me a sweet package, nice scholarship. Good. And so, I went up to New Hampshire to go to Dartmouth College. Met some good brothers and sisters there. And then I started an exchange between Dartmouth and Morehouse. So
you started it?
Yeah, I started it. Me and a good friend of mine were the first two to go down and spent some time at Morehouse. Almost decided to stay in Atlanta, stay at the house. It was beautiful. It was beautiful to be around black people, black scholars, trying to figure it out. Beautiful to be around brothers to talk about what it meant to be a black man. Right. And some of the challenges that we have. So it's exciting. It's exciting to be with you and others in the community talking about Boston. And what does it mean to be a black man in Boston today?
Thank you. Well, right here, look, neighbor, leader, innovator, Barros for mayor, okay? You're from where? What part of town? Were you born in Cape Verde or you born here?
Oh, come on now. I was born in Roxbury. I was born in Roxbury. My father came from Cape Verde in the 50s. Yep. He lived on...
the first! One of the 50s, yeah.
He lived on Adams Street in OP. Before it was Orchard Gardens, right? He lived right there on Adams Street. And, then he bought his house up the street on Dudley Street off of Clarence. And that's where we were born and raised. I was born and raised in Roxbury, and and I proud to be Cape Verdean, proud to be from West Africa, and in many ways, Boston has a very diverse black community. Boston has a very diverse black community, and this is an opportunity for us to come together and to make some noise in this electoral process and get a mayor in there that's going to see all of us.
Right. Now, where did you go to high school, grammar school, high school, all those other things?
Yeah, I started in BPS at Emerson School. And from BPS, I went to middle school at St. Patrick's and then went to BC High. Okay. From BC High, I went to Dartmouth College. And from Dartmouth, I spent some time at University of South Africa Business School. And then I got my master's at Tufts. School has always been important to me, important to my family. First generation to graduate from college, first generation to graduate from grad school, something that I want to make sure that more of us can say, right? That we can graduate from those institutions, but then come back and get a good job, right? So it's not just a degree; it's about making sure that we can plug in opportunities and that there are more opportunities for us out here.
I've known you from your work at DS&I when I used to work at the Boston Foundation way back in the day. So talk about your work at DS&I. Your commercial, I thought it was fantastic because it just shows you and the strength of you as the 17-year-old, now as the 40-something, right? But just talk about that commercial when you put it together, what it meant for you. Because it was like, it just showed the whole piece about just being from Boston and just the background, the things that you were part of, the organizing. Just talk about that. When you put it together and you saw it, what did you think?
Yeah, it gave me an opportunity to go back to why I was in this game of organizing and community improvement. I got lucky. I got lucky because the 70s and 80s in Roxbury were tough times. 80s with the crack epidemic, with the all the vacant lots, all the burning, we had migration from the south, from black folks coming to Boston. At the same time, we had folks, my parents coming from West Africa. We had Boston changing, right? And so We
A
know
lot of
the
Jamaicans and Haitians.
a lot of
in the 80s,
Jamaicans,
in the 80s,
Haitians,
90s.
Puerto Ricans, right,
Yep,
in
yep.
the 80s and 90s, and Boston was becoming a different place. And so it was up to us, who were the new folks in this neighborhood, to try to make it ours, right?
Right.
To take leadership, to come in, and that's what I was born into. I was born into that movement. I remember the Mandela movement
Right
by Mel King, right? And what that meant, and the conversations. I was still young, trying to figure all that out. But for me, it helped me to think about what it meant for us to have our own, right? And
I
what it
remember
meant-
that too. I mean, Mandela, when you heard it, like,
Yeah.
they're about to do what? They're about
Yeah.
to separate what?
Yeah,
This is some amazing talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then to think about what it meant, right? And to think about what does it mean for us. How you doing? Good to see you, man. It's always good to see you.
Yeah, you saw him on the news this morning.
Good to see you, brother. Huh? You want a shirt? Hey, can she get a shirt? I got her. Sure. Appreciate you, brother.
They said, hey, I saw you on the news this morning.
Hey, yeah. No, it's good to see our own on the news.
Yeah, that's right.
And for me, it'd be good to see our own in the mayor's office, right? I'd love to represent for all the black boys out here, for me today, right? As I was looking for different people that I can aspire to be, as Mel King was for me, as Gus
Always.
Newport was for me, as Danny Glover was for me.
Yeah.
These are people that I hold close, and it's important that you have those role models and people that you look up to, so that we can actually see ourselves in places that we should be in.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So that's why I was excited in the last 7 years to be the Chief of Economic Development for the City of Boston.
Because, wait up, this was not your first time at the rodeo running for mayor now.
No.
Let's talk about that, all right?
Yeah,
Talk
no.
about the first time.
And
And,
let me
then we'll go into the being the Chief Economic Officer.
Absolutely. Let me go back to the original question though about DS&I.
Go ahead.
So at DS&I, I always thought about myself as trying to be in the community, doing work with the community, never as a politician, right? Until I got to the school committee,
Yes.
right? So, I did some work at DS&I as executive director. We built affordable housing. We built the largest urban land trust in the country, so we can own the land, steward the land in our neighborhood. But then we started doing work in education, and I worked with Edna Bino, Valerie Shelley,
Yes.
and the folks in Orchard
Valerie
Park
Shelley, of course.
to do the Hope 6 for Orchard Park, but then also to build a new school. That was profound for me when we got around the table and started talking about what does a school look like that's going to take care of our little children.
That's right on.
Right? So we built the Orchard Garden Pilot School, opened the Orchard Garden Pilot School, helped to build the new Dearborn STEM Academy.
Right on.
Right? So as we designed for a new STEM Academy in our neighborhood and what could happen there, Menino asked me to come in and be part of the school committee. Once I sat on the school committee and started making decisions for our schools and working and seeing how government worked and how impactful government was in our community, I caught the bug.
Right on.
At that point, it was like, it's about our neighborhood, but it's about our city. And it's about the city making decisions that sees us. It's about the cities making decisions that gives us access and opportunity. So at that point in 2013, I jumped in. Some folks called us and said, let's make some noise. Let's get in there and shake up the conversation. Let's be in the conversation.
And you did.
And I did. And I did, right? And that gave me the opportunity to go in and be part of government for the last 7 years, which was educational, which just opened up my mind about really what was possible as I went in there fighting for some change and trying to do some things differently.
Right on, right on. Let's talk about a couple of issues. One is, and one thing that I know you were working on around the issues around Massachusetts Avenue. We have lots of people came up today with the previous candidate talked about Mass and what was going on over there. We've had everybody
Say it again.
What are some solutions for what's going on in Mass Ave? I mean, we have people coming up to us, and with the last candidate that was here, saying that needs to be addressed now. What are some of the things that you're thinking about working on in that? And I have 3 other issues to bring up.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So today I spent 4 hours on Mass and Cass, trying to outreach to people. We provided water, we provided information, resources, but more importantly, we're there to provide vaccines. Because with the Delta variant spiking up, our people need to be protected. And so we went there and we provided vaccines. I was honest. Look, I think if we're going to serve, we got to first start on the streets. Let's meet people where they are, which is why I've called for the city right now to put more people on the streets, to put more body on the streets. Look, I met Tim today. I met a brother Kyle today, right? Kyle Barros, who says we're cousins, right? And so, Kyle's from Mattapan. I know exactly the Barros family he's part of, right? And that's family.
That's right.
And so I was there and I was like, Kyle, what you need, right? And so Kyle was talking about sort of the real hustle on the street and how hard it's been, but how he wants to get out of it, right? And how he just needs somebody to help him out. So building those relationships, extending your hand, and knowing people by name, right? Because those are our brothers, our cousins, our neighbors, our sisters, our aunts. That's who's on those corners, right? And so let's get on the ground, let's get in the neighborhood, let's provide whatever we can provide. But as mayor, I would push to make sure that the resources are out there today and that we don't accept that. As mayor, I would also push to make sure that we have all of the right coordination for programming and that we don't dump it all in Roxbury, right? Because there's too much happening right there and people are spilling out in the streets. Not right. Let's bring it back to the Shattuck. Let's bring it to different places until we can build a new bridge. Once we build a new bridge, we'll put people in a place where they should be, in a place that's safer, where drug dealers aren't picking them off, where there's not a lot of that stuff that's going on right now that we're allowing to go on. It's not right. Look, I met a brother at St. Francis House. His brother had just done 19 years. He came out, now he's at St. Francis House, and he's trying to, he's at St. Francis House, but he's actually taking classes at the Benjamin Franklin Institute on construction management. This brother's trying to get his life together, smart, intelligent brother. And he's trying to graduate with a construction certificate, project management certificate. But at the same time, he's doing, I think it's the catering program at Pine Street, just so he can pay for his classes, right? So he's out there trying to get some work, working right now in restaurants and trying to pay the bills. But where does he live? He lives on the shelter right there on Atkinson Street, right in the middle of Master Cass area. So he went to jail because he had an addiction. And he says but he kicked it. Except his home is at the center of temptation around anybody who's got addiction. We've got to be able to do better as a society. This brother is working hard. Let's give him a little bit of hand. Let's give him a little bit of assistance. That's why the reentry piece is real for me. That's why being on the streets and hearing those stories and talking to them about what they're doing and how we can help them is real for me. Let's do it now. We got too many beautiful souls on those streets that are our family that we got to make sure we help. Yeah.
Boston Public Schools, I mean, you were on the school committee. There's lots of talk right now. Yep. I mean, rest in peace, Thomas Blazant, and so forth. But lots of people right now are talking about what's going on in the schools and getting people back in the classrooms, making sure students are learning on Zoom and all these different clients. What are some of the 2 issues that you want to focus right now on BPS?
Oh, you're going to give me 2 issues?
I'm only giving you 2, but you give 3. You will say whatever you're going to want to say anyway.
Look, I'll try to be concise on BPS because I know schools.
Yeah.
Look, the beginning of our fight for equity starts with education. It starts with human development. It starts with how we take care of people's growth and development. And it starts young. So that's the first thing I'm going to talk about. As we talk about childhood, early childhood development, and we talk about child care, it needs to be all about early childhood development. No more babysitting. Let's make sure that our children are being read to. Let's make sure that they're being talked to. Let's make sure that their vocabulary is growing and they're being developed. Which is why I've already said we need a birth to career pipeline. That is a pathway that is robust and that's resourced. As our mothers are giving birth, they should be welcomed with a welcome basket that has a library card for the young baby that was just born, that has some books, that has an early childhood curriculum, because our first educators are our parents, right? And so every parent needs to know that the basic education curriculum for a baby is talk, read, play. We can all do that, but let's do it with intentionality and purpose. And then let's make sure that that parent knows where the circle of other parents are around them, so they can exchange information.
Well, let's talk about that. How many young ones do you have?
Oh, I've got 4.
Talk about it.
I've got 4, 9-year-old, 7-year-old, 5-year-old, and 3-year-old.
So let's talk about the last year and a half with them and just learning and so forth.
So we know that too many of thousands of our students disengaged because of remote school, right? Because they didn't have either the right internet, they didn't have the right computers, and many of our parents and our students didn't really know how to engage, right? And so we needed to we provided hotspots, we provided free Chromebooks. Well, that's not over, right? We need people, even though we're gonna move back into schools, and they're talking about hybrid now, right? You can't be a student without accessing the internet. You can't do research without accessing the internet. You can't. So in today's society, our students and their parents have to have access. We got to be able to bridge this digital divide. It is, in fact, an economic development priority. It is an educational priority. It is about health justice. It is about everything that leads us to connect to information and opportunity. You can't even apply for a job unless you can apply online these days.
That's right.
Right? So you got to have some online presence. And educators need to have access as well. And training, right? And so this is real, right? And our businesses need to have access. The biggest thing that happened to me during the pandemic as Chief of Economic Development is recognizing how many of our businesses couldn't just shift, pivot, and just start doing delivery and doing carryouts online because they didn't have a presence, right? So this is a huge deal. You know, if we're looking at racial justice, we got to look at how people connect and stay connected and how they do business, right? And so we need to make sure that the city is moving towards a municipal broadband infrastructure.
Right on.
So it's not about the private sector. We've been talking about forever, right?
Years.
Let's get it done. Let's get it done. Let's start in our neighborhoods and make sure that we get done and people connected. We also need to make sure that people have the right training. Look, Madison Park, my father went to Madison Park for electrical training at night at ORC, right? You see, okay, talk to me, right? You probably taught him. And so it was important then that we have those kind of programs for adults. Well, look, let's do some educational literacy programs on the net at Madison Park for our adults. Right now. And then let's make sure that they've got the equipment that goes with it. Right now. This stuff that we should do right now is critical. And then we got to make sure that all of our neighborhoods, when we do the broadband infrastructure, are wired up. No, I'm loving that. I'm loving those beats right there. Yeah.
We wanted to be in the neighborhood, and we're in the neighborhood.
Loving those beats right there. Keep it up. Yep.
Hey, they're coming, right? But I want to get into something. You've been the Chief of Economic. Give me the whole full title.
Chief of Economic Development. You know, and I was the first Chief of Economic Development for the city of Boston.
Yep.
First. And that's because during my campaign in 2013, that's what I was talking about. I was talking about the economic divide in our city. I was talking about the fact that we have two cities, those who have and those who don't, right? And we can't have a Boston where that continues to happen, right? Now, it's happening all around the country, but we at least got to step in, be intentional, and try to disrupt and mitigate the divide in our city.
Well, I'm going to push you on things. What are the two things that you think that you've done that were fantastic as the Chief Economic Officer? But also, what are the two misconceptions that people think that you could have done or would have done, but you just couldn't do?
We knocked them all out.
All right, so I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to throw the ball.
Now, there's a lot of misconceptions out there. All right. A lot of misconceptions out there.
So
let me talk about something I did that actually had a misconception tied to it.
Okay.
So I knew as a candidate in 2013 that, and then we all know, there has never been a time in Boston's history where the city of Boston has provided proportional contracts to black-owned businesses, brown-owned businesses, or women-owned businesses. And so I had made the campaign promise that if I was to be the mayor, that I would go in there and do a disparity study to show it, and then to institute goals to make sure that the city was moving in that direction. Now, I didn't win mayor, but I was in there as Chief of Economic Development. So I worked with Marty Walsh and we launched that study. And in fact, we showed what we knew. But we had to show it in a legal document. We had to show, in fact, that this was true so that we can institute goals. So I'm proud, and this is one thing I'm proud about. I'll talk about what I'm proud and the misconception. What I'm proud about is we did a study that can stand up in court because you better believe it's going to be challenged.
We have something going on. All right. Go for it. Keep on going.
Oh, those are the brothers that are working on that project down the street.
Good.
They're doing good work. Go
ahead. Continue.
So we put together a disparity study that can stand up in court. Now, it took us 5 years of data because you got to have a 5-year look at the spend for the city for a disparity study. But we got it done. And I'm proud of the disparity study. And the disparity study was so strong that we instituted goals immediately. So now there's a goal at the city of Boston to spend with black-owned, brown-owned businesses, women-owned businesses, $180 million to begin with this year at 25% or more. But let me be clear. While I was Chief of Economic Development, the misconception is because I had the title, I can give the contracts. That wasn't my job. In fact, in the department that I developed, I had to get a budget. I had to be able to do some things. Now, when I got my hand on some contracts that I could award, I awarded the largest single contract to a woman-owned business, black woman-owned business in the city of Boston's history for professional services, right? So I did my piece, but I need to get back in there as mayor. to, in fact, to make sure that we can hit that goal of 25% and continue to increase that goal. What I do know is, in order to hit that goal, we need to make sure that our contracts are sized right. We need to make sure that that our businesses have help to have the right bonding level. We need to make sure that we create a back office service for some of our businesses that don't have the administrative services to the project.
Right.
These are the things that we need to do as a city to make sure we can spend that $180 million in our neighborhood.
As someone, as you know, in the nonprofit field, I know that the back office stuff is so important.
It's important. It's huge. You know, God bless our councilor Chuck Turner, but this is something we talked about a lot. And at one point, he was actually trying to build an agency to try to do this, right? But we got to get this right. If we don't create the back office, then some of our businesses can't reach for those contracts and get them done, right? Because of the administrative cost means that you got to have a certain scale so that you can pay for the administrative costs. So let's allow for a cooperative model where people are paying in bits by bits to do the administrative piece because we got a bunch of businesses working together.
Housing, what's going on? Everyone right here is saying the rent is ridiculous. What can we do about affordable housing? What can we do about housing opportunities for people to buy houses? Also about our young professionals that are coming back home.
Yes.
Give us some thoughts on that.
Boston's too expensive, right? Boston is super expensive, and affordable housing is important. So, as executive director of Dudley Street Neighborhood Initiative, I worked on that for 13 years, building affordable housing in our community, particularly for home ownership purposes. Because the other piece I'm sure you're going to ask me about is the wealth divide.
Keep on going.
Right?
I'm just letting you talk.
But let's talk about affordability before we talk about wealth creation.
All right.
Affordability is about access. Right, it's about people having quality homes. Why? Because quality housing undergirds healthy outcomes, right? They make sure that people are prepared to go to school and learn. You can't tell me that you can go to school and learn if you're homeless. You can't tell me if you go to school and learn if you've moved 4 times that year. And that's the condition for a lot of our students, and we've got to rectify that condition. But in order for us to do it, we got to build affordable housing that's affordable for our neighborhoods. So the first thing I talked about doing is getting rid of the framework that's the HUD framework of the AMI. Because for the area median income framework, we all know that the family of 4 is supposed to be making $120,000. That's not our neighborhood.
No, it's not.
In fact, in this neighborhood, that's more like $48,000, right? So let's get it right for our neighborhoods and build affordable house that's appropriate. The second thing is we need to make sure that people, in fact, can buy homes with some equity, right? And we'll get to that wealth building piece. But buying a home with equity is important, so we have to have deeper down payments. And as mayor, I will immediately...
Deeper down payments.
Deeper down payments. People got to have more assistance to go in there and immediately have some equity for their homes.
What numbers are you talking about for deeper down payments?
I think deeper down payment in a city like Boston's got to look like $60,000, $80,000.
All right.
Right? If we're going to be real about people coming in and building wealth.
Okay.
Right? While at the same time creating affordability. Okay. Now, we need to make sure that we're using city land. We need to make sure we're using city buildings to build more affordable. And we need to make sure that we are subsidizing so that we can build higher percentages of affordable at the same time. Affordable housing needs to be priority number 1 because that is the foundation for all of our parents to be, all of our families to be stronger and to be launching from a position of strength.
Question I have is about how did you work with the city councilors and also state reps and also other entities and what kind of are you a collaborative person? What's your strategy on that?
You know, I want to shout out Megan Irons. She just did this piece on me today in the Globe, and she followed me and talked to people around me, and she actually called me a bridge builder, which is, I think it's accurate, right? I'm a bridge builder. I'm a collaborator.
Megan Irons from the Globe.
Megan Irons from the Globe. Yep. She did this nice piece today. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. Send it to your friends. Send it to your family. But it's a nice profile piece. Megan Irons.
Oh yeah, I got you. Go ahead.
Yeah, and so I think bridge builder, collaborator. I was proud of the work that I did at the Dudley Street Neighborhood Initiative because it was all about partnership. As you know, DS&I is about resident leadership, but then working with others to move the agenda forward. So for me, collaboration and partnership has been the way that I've done leadership. At the city, when I was trying to, do any kind of reform on policy, when I introduced the different reforms on how the city does its RFPs or request for proposal for land to develop on, we introduced 4 new policies that there's got to be a diversity factor in the scoring. There's got to be a good jobs factor in the scoring. There's got to be an anti-displacement factor in the scoring.
Wow.
And an affordable housing factor in the scoring.
Wow,
right?
that's new.
Oh, it's new, but I had to do a collaborative approach to that. right? So I had to work with Sheila Dilling and housing. I had to work with Brian Golden at the BPDA. I had to work with the different entities to make that happen.
Sometimes they don't work well together, you know.
Well, let me tell you, right?
You know that.
Well,
I'll tell you.
I mean, look, man.
I want to be clear. You'll get a different answer from each different five.
And that's why it's important that City Hall breaks down those silos. Right, that we're all at the same table, so you don't get the different answers. But that takes collaborative leadership, right? When I was executive director of Dudley Street Neighborhood Initiative, I brought together 36 organizations in our neighborhood to go after the Promised Neighborhoods grant from the Department of Education.
That's right, you got it.
And we were successful.
Yeah, you got it.
Why? Because we had strength in numbers, right? And we had a lot of people involved.
A lot of people think you were going to get it. You know that.
A lot of people.
I want you to know that.
Well, I know this. A lot of people think I'm not going to win mayor too. I just want to let you know that. So we'll be back at that. We'll be back.
Please. Now I want you to look right in that camera right now and tell people why you believe that you should be the next mayor of Boston. Right there. This is all you.
No, look, I believe I should be the next mayor of Boston because first and foremost, I am born and raised in Boston and I'm in touch with the communities here in Boston. I have played the role of executive in Boston as a manager of a nonprofit doing community improvement work through resident leadership and collaborative partnerships with other agencies. I am a small business owner. I own Restaurant Cesaria on Bowdoin Street, and I didn't open up the restaurant on Bowdoin Street because there's a lot of disposable cash on Bowdoin Street. I opened up the restaurant in Bowdoin Street because in fact I wanted to impact Bowdoin Street and make sure that a neighborhood, when I opened it up, that was the neighborhood with the highest crime level in the city, had some assistance, had some jobs, had some folks who were paying attention. That's how I've lived my whole life. I've lived my whole life to serve, and I'm ready to serve as mayor because I have executive experience that can meet the challenges of Boston today. Bring in affordable housing. I'm the only candidate that's built affordable housing in our city and know that's done. I'm the only candidate that's designed and launched new schools and built new school buildings through my efforts and know how that's done. I'm the only candidate that in fact has helped small businesses and can help our small businesses recover from the pandemic. I am the candidate that's most ready to lead Boston today and make sure that we're an anti-racist city, make sure that we're a city that's more inclusive. That's why you should visit barrosformayor.com and give me your vote.
Perfect. Thank you very much. But that was very clear. But right now, what we always do, and we're always going to have, is we have a couple of questions. All right. So I am going to start with this brother right here. Come right up. Come closer. Come closer. All right. Say who you are and what's your question, sir? Right over here. Look at people. There you go.
How you doing? I'm Paris, and I own a company called Gangsta Gone Legit. My question to you would be, what type of programs are you going to set, if you become mayor, what type of programs are you going to do for people who are entrepreneurs and they have their small businesses? What are you going to put in line to help them out?
Yeah, Paris, I appreciate that question. I appreciate your, sort of business efforts and what you do. And so, look, as mayor, the most important thing I've heard from entrepreneurs and small businesses in our city is that we need access to capital. When we, and as a small business owner who opened one, I know that I couldn't go to the banks to go get it, right? I know that I couldn't go to a fund to go get it because those funds aren't out there for us. We need to make sure that we do have funds that are out there for us. As Chief of Economic Development, I started a fund you should check out called Neighborhood Access Fund. And the city has money for you there, but we need to make that money more readily accessible, and we need to quadruple the amount of money that we have there, and we need to be out in the streets talking to you about how you can access it so that we can support your business concept and move forward, so access to capital. The second thing that I'll do is make sure that you have technical assistance, right? And so what we did at the City of Boston under my leadership was to actually double the amount of money we're putting out there for technical assistance. We can do a lot more than that, and make sure that you can have your business online if you needed that. To make sure if you needed an accountant to set up your transactions on QuickBook or whatever else, so that you can have it ready for your tax filing.
Those grants are $10,000 to $20,000. I heard about them.
Those are serious grants, and people need to take advantage of those grants.
You're eligible now for them.
Absolutely, but we need to make sure that we're doing more, right? Because more people need them. But access to capital for me, brother, is where I start, and then technical assistance to make sure that you have everything you need to be set up for success.
Another question. Thank you, Paris. Next question. Right here. Go for it.
My name is Alif Muhammad. I'm with Masjid Al Khan down the street. And you mentioned all the things you talked about are things that Blue Hill Avenue Action Committee, they get ready to do.
Yes. Board president of the S9 for years. And I also want to shout you out, Marzouk. my man, my brother.
Dartmouth guy.
Dartmouth guy, and our, us Dartmouth brothers, we stick together. Ain't a lot of us, so we stick together. But you're right, and I think, for me, building the capacity of community so that we can own out here and be able to develop on the land next to us is important, right? So we've got to, when we're talking about building, we should talk about building by those who should build should be in their community. Listen, whether it's nonprofits, whether it's faith-based communities, whether it's some of the CDCs, and we have some strong ones in this area. We've got to be able to partner with the people on the ground, build their capacity, and be able to give their opportunity to build.
Question.
Yes, sir.
Now, when you're talking about, you have a level of education, knowledge, and understanding and experience that puts you on a level that's way above the average person. And there's always that tension, those that know and those that don't, those that have that don't.
Yeah.
And how do you bridge, as you say, that gap to get the understanding to be able to move forward? Just like underdogs sometimes win games.
Oh no, absolutely, right. And so
here you go with them football analogies. Here we go. Here we go.
I can't help it. I play ball.
Oh Lord.
So Sister Naja would say to us, right, that each one teach one. But it really is about, and one of the core programs we had at DS9 when she was there and we were there working together was this thing called the Resident Development Institute, which grabbed young people like me and other folks, sat us in a room and said, let's talk about how we build our own community. Let's talk about what that means. Let's talk about what a master plan is. Let's talk about what zoning might mean. Let's talk about affordable housing and how you can be engaged in making the decisions on what kind of affordable housing comes to your neighborhood, and how you can be part of the ownership and stewardship of affordable housing, which is why we then built a community land trust. So that it wasn't just about having affordable housing in a neighborhood, but it was to make sure that the community was involved in stewardship of that land, the community was involved in the planning and what actually happened, and then supporting those families on that land trust. And so this can be done where everyday people feel like they're informed, where everyday people feel like they've got the information, and that we can help build skill and knowledge so that they can participate and help lead.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. Just one question. The big time developers, you think they're going to be in favor of this?
So look, big time developers need to be in favor of development, right? And so we need to be in favor of making sure that the community develops the community, right? But what happens there is all of a sudden development becomes positive. Right now, the way we're going, people don't want development. Right? People are, wait a minute, people are developing my neighborhood and I'm not a part of it. What's going on here? Stop this, stop that, stop this. Look, development, if development is going to continue to be positive, we need to create development in a framework where people feel like development is positive. Why? I've got a seat at the table. I know what's going on. I know what that development is. I'm helping to guide this land trust that's helping to do some land banking and able to get that done. The other piece that's really incredibly important is that we should start a neighborhood investment fund. And the neighborhood investment fund should allow the residents then to invest in the real estate in their neighborhoods. So it's not just about decision making. It's not just about stewardship. It's about wealth creation. And so if Mr. Greenwich had an opportunity to invest in whatever was happening next door to him, and he had an opportunity to buy some shares, maybe he had $100 each, and maybe he had $1,000 stashed somewhere, then he could put his $1,000 in the building that's being built next to him and watch his $1,000 grow. Right? That's the kind of work that we, that's right. That's right. We need to create an opportunity for us to fully be involved in the development in our neighborhood. Everybody wins from that.
So your experience in Dartmouth did all this for you?
Brother, my experience at Dartmouth, and also my experience here in Roxbury in Boston, working with my neighborhood and being creative about the things that we can do. It's super empowering when you put us together, put us residents together and let us dream and let us talk about the things that we could do and how we should do it. Amazing ideas come out of that.
Can I get off camera now?
Yes, you can, sir. Lord.
Thank you, sir.
Good to see you. Good to see you.
Cambridge people, man, y'all can take over everything. You know what I mean? Jesus. All right. But real talk, I know we're going to get a brochure real quick. Let's talk about this real quick.
Yep.
September 14th.
Yes, sir.
Now, some people come up to me and go, yes, I'm going to go vote for the candidate mayor in November. I got you. They come in November. I got you. Let them know what September 14th is all about.
Hey, look, people usually think about November when they think about elections, but September 14th is probably a more important date than November 2nd. September 14th is when we have what's called a preliminary, and we take this bigger group of candidates and we dwindle it down to the final two. And it's important that one of the two candidates are your final two. right? Because you don't want to be in a position where you don't have the candidate that you want to support in the final two, or that you don't have someone that represents you well in the final two. Critical for all of us to go out and make sure that our voices are heard September 14th.
Right here, and I want you to show your own materials and all
right.
that, and your website and all that. Please share to everybody.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, Chip. And for those of you who want to find out more about my campaign, it's Barros for Mayor, F-O-R, mayor.com. Check it out. If you want to email me, let's get into an exchange. John@barrosformayor.com. Would love to engage with folks on all types of ideas, comments, what you think about what's going on in Boston today and what should be happening in Boston.
And show your great card. Go show it up.
There
with
it
all
is.
that.
You know, there's a little flyer with what I've done in the back, and you know, would love to make sure that people are informed, and most importantly, that we're engaged on September 14th.
Thank you so much. I want to appreciate you coming out today. We know your schedule is
Thank you,
crazy,
brother.
but you made sure you came out today. We wanted to be here in the community and see all this stuff, but we're so glad that you are out here running. That's what our civic duty is. And again, how many signatures did you have to get certified to be on this ballot?
Yes, sir. We had to get about 3,000 signatures certified, which means we have to collect about 6,000 at least just to have that buffer. So a lot of work went into this. And let me say one other thing, Chip. As I've been campaigning, particularly black men have said to me, where's our voice? You know, where's our engagement? So I want to say to the brothers out there, I've been hosting these black men roundtables. Check us out on Facebook, listen to the topics we're talking about, listen to those brothers who are talking, but then also get engaged. Show up, register, and show up on September 14th to make sure that we are not only seen, heard, but our decision and our power is felt. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. So glad to be here with the Greatest Minds family, State of Young Black Boston, National Black College Alliance. We're so glad to be here for our one-on-one conversations with our mayoral candidates. Chip Greenwich here, so glad. Thank you for spending the day with us. All right, y'all, you got the information. You go ahead and do what you got to do. Thank you, y'all. Hey, big up, big up.
Right.
Woo. Give up for Jabari right there.
Jabari making the technology work.
Thank you.